They got it all wrong. Why, the Crown completely misses the mark when it comes to its portrayal of Diana, the late Princess of Wales. Hello friends, welcome to the King YouTube channel. On November 16th, the new season and the final season of The Crown is set to hit Netflix. We've already heard more than enough to know that its portrayal of Diana, the late Princess of Wales, is simply wrong. Based on the information we already know, it's understandable that William would feel upset about what they're doing to his mother's memory. Harry, on the other hand, is on Netflix's payroll, so it's not like he can really argue. I don't know about you, but I personally refuse to watch it, especially after I have found out they're going to portray Diana as a ghost. I mean, how wrong is that? But actually, that's not the only thing they got wrong. According to Jenny Bond, The Crown has Diana as a shrinking violet, but that's not who she really was. Royal correspondent Jenny Bond wrote in The Telegraph that only 9 months before her death, Princess Diana knew Camilla was the love of Charles's life and insisted he could not handle being king. Now, Jenny Bond knows her stuff. She knew Diana intimately. Of course, she met her first through her work, but as the two of them spent more time together, we can say they became friends. As Jenny Bond points out, one of the problems with portraying someone who lived so recently is that there are lots of people like me who did know Diana, and who find Debicki's valiant efforts sometimes unconvincing. According to Jenny Bond, the actress Elizabeth Debicki, who was chosen to portray Diana, gets some things right. I mean, she looks like her, she's tall, she got her voice right, she got her mannerisms right. But when it comes to the presence of Diana, what she was really like as a person, what kind of effect she had on the room as she would walk into it, apparently Debicki is a little off the mark. Jenny Bond notes that she did indeed have a habit of cocking her head to one side and looking doe-eyed through her lashes, but not all the time. The Crown exaggerates this, just as it embellishes or imagines so much about the royals. She goes on to write, in her later years, the Diana I knew would look you straight in the eye. She was confident, and as she told me, all grown up. For example, she said she had successfully taken control of her divorce negotiations. She said, I took advice from Mark Phillips and Tony Snowden. They both told me to make sure everything was settled before I signed anything. But the palace kept trying to get it all through before the details had been decided. That's why I threatened to pull out of the negotiations altogether. She smiled ruefully. That did the trick. I agree with Jenny Bond that when you are portraying somebody who lived so recently, it's important to consider how would they have wanted to be portrayed. I mean, sure, when she was young, when she first married Charles, she was basically a child. Diana was rather naive and she may have been a little meek, but as she got older, she got so much stronger. By failing to take this transformation into account, the Crown is really doing a great disservice to the memory of Diana. Jenny Bond goes on to write, she was shrewd. She told me that she had received a pompous letter written by one of the Queen's senior courtiers, whom she named. It had appalled her, and she was keeping hold of it in case she ever needed it. Diana was nobody's fool. And I think Jenny Bond is touching on something important here. Diana was not a victim, not like Harry wants to be. Even though Diana was treated unfairly by Charles and the palace and often the media, she wasn't going to give in and let them win. She was not going to be anybody's victim, and this is really something that Harry and Meghan could learn from her. Diana wasn't so obsessed with people feeling sorry for her. She continued to hold her head high, and no matter what, she was going to take control of her own life, and she was going to live it on her own terms. But apparently what the Crown misses is perhaps even worse than that aspect of Diana's personality. Jenny Bond writes, but what is missing more than anything in the Crown is her soul, her charisma, her sparkle, and her wicked sense of humor. She found great joy and fun in life, as well as sadness and disappointment. She told me that she didn't wake up every morning thinking, yippee, I am the most famous woman in the world. But she loved it when people yelled out to her, Lady Di. It was, she thought, a term of great affection, and she found it hilarious that having been so pampered in her royal life, she had completely forgotten that you had to put fuel in the car after dispensing with her police protection and drivers. She said, I went downstairs and jumped in, and it was empty. She laughed that girlish giggle, according to Jenny Bond, head thrown back as she happily took the mickey out of herself. And as for the victimhood narrative, well, according to Jenny Bond, at times she did indeed feel and behave like a victim, which The Crown accurately depicts. But in that final year or two, she struck me as far more of a pragmatic realist. She had apparently come to terms, as much as any wife could, with the fact that her husband had loved someone else. Jenny Bond goes on to write, "Let's face it," she said as we sipped our ice water, "Camilla is the love of Charles's life and always has been. I don't feel any animosity towards her anymore. In fact, I really think she deserves some form of recognition. After all, she's been loyal to him and extremely discreet for such a long time." You know, it's crazy to me how Harry and Meghan act like they've got some vendetta against Charles and Camilla for what they did to Diana. But the truth is, Diana was over it. Why can't Harry get over the fact that his father married the woman that he loves? Why can't he accept the fact, so many years later, that his parents got divorced, that maybe his father was misguided in marrying his mother in the first place? In so many ways, Diana was the victim in all that mess, so why is Harry so convinced that he's the real victim? I understand, just like we all do, that The Crown is for entertainment purposes. But even so, how incredibly insensitive that they are talking about a family who still exists today. They're still living. These characters are not just characters on a TV show, these are real, living, breathing people who are having their lives torn apart by the series. And yeah, I know it's supposedly fictional, but it's not fictional. That's the thing about it. We all know there are so many people who don't know anything about the royal family. All they know is what they see on The Crown, and how must they feel? We already know that William is not a fan of the series. And Harry? What about Harry? Does Harry really think it's okay what they're doing, turning his mother into a ghost? Is he really okay with that? Or does he just have to go along with it because, well, you gotta pay the bills somehow? What exactly did Meghan tell him when they were planning to move to California? Did she tell him that he was going to be selling his soul to the devil? Because that's exactly what has happened. He is working for the very same company that is making a mockery of his late mother's life and death just to make a quick buck. And it's not only his mother, it's really the whole family. While I refuse to watch the show, I'm still interested to hear how Harry is portrayed. Are they going to handle him with kid gloves since he's on their payroll? Or will they be honest in depicting the feud between Harry and the rest of the family? I think we know the answer there. Jenny Bond concludes by saying Diana was many things to many people: wronged wife, heroine, crusader, lover, paparazzi prey. To capture all of this was probably an impossibility from the start, and perhaps it should never have been attempted, because to the two people who knew her best of all, William and Harry, she was simply Mummy. And to see her final weeks and her death paraded on TV for the pleasure of a worldwide audience is, in my view, cruel beyond measure to her sons. And you, what do you think of Netflix's portrayal of Diana in The Crown? Please let me know your opinion below in the comments section. If you found this video interesting, please do like and share it with anybody else who would appreciate it. And don't be afraid to click the subscribe button to get more updates in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in, have a lovely weekend, and we'll be back to see you all tomorrow.